forward. The reason we're having to do a special one is they kind of move the dates up on us as far as this is something we do every single year, but we're dealing with some new partners a little bit, and so the anticipation of the dates and when things were going to happen are a little bit different. Anyway, I'll let her explain it to you, and then you can ask her if you have any questions with that for the SRA meeting. And then our regular meeting, we're not having a regular meeting tonight. We might as well, we don't have any city clerks present right now. We have Arlene is out and Jenna came down with COVID, although she has been able to join us online. So she's listening in and can help us out with anything that we need with that. And then other than that, that'll be our business to do a little goal setting, wrap that up for the most part tonight. Bring that back to you with something, fairly final. And I apologize for the formatting of this. I tried to start messing with the format of this thing and started losing content all over. I would delete a cell and all of a sudden everything was just, I tried to move something and next thing I know it was gone. So I apologize for the appearance of this matrix. It's a bit of a mess right now, and I'll get that cleaned up for you as well.
Are we having that SRA meeting at 7 o'clock, or can we do it immediately after this meeting?
I don't know. I don't know if we have to wait until the time that we noticed it. I get asked the city attorney that.
I just want to remind you of our interpreter if you wanted to.
Oh, sorry.
Her. Sorry, before you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
In advance.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just jumping right in. Can we get our introduction from the interpreter?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative. We're going to be practicing language justice, and we are going to provide interpretation in English and Spanish. Please remember to select your language and to speak at a conversational pace and close to your microphone. I will keep my camera off and will turn it on if I cannot hear you or you're speaking too fast. Hola a todos, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Vamos a estar practicando la justicia del lenguaje en esta reunión. Vamos a tener interpretación en inglés y en español. Recuerden, por favor, seleccionar su idioma en el mapamundo de la parte inferior de la pantalla. Y recuerden hablar a un paso conversacional y acercarse al micrófono cuando estén hablando. Thank you, and we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you. I just want to mention Councilmember Whitaker couldn't make it tonight, and I don't know if do we have Councilmember Daigle yet? She's supposed to be joining us by Zoom, I guess.
Yeah, she hasn't joined us yet.
I think we can go now.
Okay. Very good. So we'll, to answer your question, Mayor, I don't know if we have to wait until 7 p.m. I think that's when we noticed the SRA meeting, so most likely we do.
Devin?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you're right. You could start later, but you can't start earlier.
Right. Okay, thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Okay.
So with that, why don't we move into our goal setting? You should all have a copy of the goals implementation matrix. What staff has spent the last week or so doing was taking the goal statements and objectives and then working to add in priority action items with those. I have not done status updates on a lot of them as of yet because I just kind of want your buy-in on where we are before we spend the time on doing the status updates on that. But what I think we'll just do is walk through each of the objectives and the action items that staff has placed in there and leave this as an open discussion for staff, council. I'd like to know your thoughts on those. If we're missing something that you'd like to see in there, if you'd like it worded differently, anything along those lines. This is your goals document. So let's make sure that it's working for you. So to begin, we have under the objective stormwater program, we have 2 priority action items. One of those we've already done, which was to engage a consultant to perform a rate model study. And for our council members that weren't on council at that time, I think when we did that was right before COVID hit, and then COVID hit. And the discussion was, it's probably not the best time to have a rate hike when you're going through a pandemic. So it was kind of put on the back burner, so to speak. So we actually do have a different or a working model out there that we just need to fine tune a little bit and then bring forward for council consideration. And again, this is based on our current stormwater fund and our current stormwater rate model are not sustainable. They're not equitable. It's not a good rate model. It needs to be fixed. And so that was the reason behind this entire goal. So we've had some bad timing that has come about after trying to pursue this. Staff has been working on it. It's just, sometimes it's not a good time to tell folks, well, we're going to be raising your rates on this. So, but it has to stay in there. We have to do something because that fund is not sustainable. Yes. So go ahead, Dallas.
Has anything been included in that on public outreach and a little bit of explanation on what stormwater, I mean, is that included with these?
We would absolutely want to do that once we had an idea which model we were going to go at. And, there's still some things that need to be answered. Exactly what does the model, how is it going to work? Some percentages based out of that, some timeframes, because we have to look at where I'm not looking at rolling this out probably all at once because it's going to be a significant increase for people. So we might want to look at phasing that in over years. We're going to have a pretty good idea what all that looks like so we can share that with the public and then get their input on that.
A lot of people don't understand what the stormwater thing is. They just don't get it. I know one family, they said, well, we used to live in Inglewood and we never got a stormwater thing there. Well, that's because Inglewood rolls it in with their water bill.
Yeah.
They roll it in with their water bill and people just, they don't understand that it's something we have to do,
Right.
that we're federally mandated to do, and we have to take care of it. So I think public education would be probably a good thing along with it.
Absolutely. And what I'll do is I'll just call that out. We'll put, so council consideration implementation of new rate model, and we'll do public outreach and education as another priority action item in there. Yes. To update the one?
Yeah, because I mean, construction costs have almost doubled now and even maintenance costs.
Okay, we can look at that, you bet. Yeah, so that model was based on things from 2 years ago. Yeah,
Actually, 3 years.
some assumptions on that. Okay. Good. Okay. Any other questions or thought on stormwater? Well, you'll see when we go through on the budget process, you'll see how this fund has just kind of been gradually going this way. And is not self-sustaining at this point. And with it being a stormwater being a utility, it needs to be self-sustaining and pay for itself. Okay, next objective, facilitate Sheridan Sand District number 1 improvements. You can see we've got a lot of that done already. Where we are right now is trying to identify some additional funding to be able to meet that gap in the improvements, the quote for the improvements that came in. As council remember, we put an RFP out for that. We had submittals come in and it was significantly over our engineer's estimate. And a lot of that is due to the increase in construction costs and everything else that we're seeing right now. We're still in process of trying to identify where there might be some additional funding to try and bridge that gap. Next objective, update, improve city buildings. We've got the city hall clock replacement, council chambers upgrades, lighting improvements for the city, which a number have been done. Renovate. Has anybody been here at night to see the lights up front? They look really good. And if you want, you can, if you go pick up your mail tonight, you can see the lights in our general government office. that have been replaced. Very nice. And a lot of the lights out in the entryway here, are they all replaced or not quite? Most of them.
99%.
So been converted over to LED. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Did renovate city hall bathrooms and improve the city hall landscaping. So again, we've done a little bit of both of those, but there's still more to be done on that. Any thoughts on anything that we didn't include in there with updating or improving city buildings? And this also, just so you know, the flooring is on order. That's kind of been from last year's budget to replace the flooring in the main entry here. We've selected a kind of a slate colored tile. It should be sharp. It'd be nice. Better than the carpet that's out there. Okay. Let's see, on the bus stop improvements, as you can see, the construction is started and is going on out there as we speak. I saw they poured a new pad, the one right out here in front of Oxford. So that's going. And when do we anticipate that would be complete, guys? Do you know? Okay. All right. Thank you. Finally, under that, no, we have a couple more under that goal. At the end of that page, though, improve and increase city signage. This could be historical signage, interpretive, directional, entryway signage. I'm looking at some plans for that. Under objectives on the next page, maintain and improve city transportation facilities. Got a wide range of priority actions items on here. So we've got the Santa Fe PEL projects. As council remember, there were a number of projects that were identified through that that are specific to Sheridan in our transportation facilities. Unfortunately, fortunately at first they were part of a package that we submitted for the TIP program, but unfortunately they got separated out and that package got pulled apart. So we're gonna have to look at some other ways, other alternatives of putting those together and see how we finance those improvements. The US 285 traffic mitigation study. I'm not sure, Andrew, how far or where are we on that? Do you know? Are you on that one? Okay. Right. Not at this point. No alternatives to be considered yet. Okay, thank you. Federal corridor study and improvements. That's where we're going to be partnering. Let's see, that was awarded through the county. That was Dr. Cog. Sorry, thank you. And where are we on that one, Andrew? Right. Excellent, thank you. This is one that was suggested by council, Oxford median improvements, and looking what we can do for improving the medians along Oxford there, and how we can do it within the confines of requirements that we had as part of that project for keeping that, looking into that. And then installation of EV charging stations. And that's moving along. I think we're just waiting at this point for a couple of things, aren't we? Are you like waiting for the station or the charging stations themselves to be delivered and some power to be run, correct? Okay. Okay. So that, we have one more under that same goal statement, which is the maintain and improve our infrastructure. Last objective under there was to develop, upgrade recreation facilities. We'll see various versions of me talking about the rec center in here and things along those lines under several areas. But it's all getting towards reviewing the rec center lease with South Suburban and the school district and seeing what we can do there. And then also specific to that area is looking at exploring a expansion of the existing skate park, and then looking at the potential for a water amenity somewhere in the city.
On that objective, can we just add maybe multimodal before transportation, the one for maintain and improve city transportation facilities, just to keep that in mind? I mean, most of these are vehicle oriented right now, but
So like in the
We're
objective
automobile Oriented.
wording, I know we
Yes.
have one, so in not the next one, but the goal statement after that, we have improved multimodal connectivity between neighborhoods. That's kind of specific to that. Where else did I? Just want to make sure if I have it somewhere else that we can be consistent. Okay. So what were you thinking, Mayor? Maintain and improve city transportation,
Multimodal transportation facilities or
multimodal
transportation
transportation
facilities, including
facilities, sure.
multimodal, or I don't know.
Okay.
I think even though we don't really have an action item under there for it right now,
No, right.
maybe keep that objective in case something comes up, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I can add the other one that we talk about, connectivity and neighborhood connectivity. 'Cause that would be one that's later down this. Okay. Any other council comments, questions, staff, about these objectives and priority action items for the first goal statement? Okay. Oops. Yeah.
Devin, I was just gonna
Yeah.
say on the update improved city buildings, I know we're doing it, but you might want to just add it so it's official, but the update police facilities. And I don't think we have that, and I think we're planning on doing that, so.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? While we're on it? Okay. Next goal statement was the economic development efforts. And we have improved city communications with business community. We have under their priority action items to design and implement a business engagement program, including with business features in the city newsletter and sponsorships with events. We also have under Sheridan Redevelopment Authority, the objective is the continued build out of River Point. And that's kind of a generic one that we've had there for a while, but we continue to be relevant until we have build out at some point in Sheridan, in the center over there. Any thoughts? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me keep going. I had a line. I thought that, see, it's hard to read this thing because I messed up the grid on it so bad. So my apologies for that. Looking at vacant, unused lot development. Vacant or unused lot development and exploring grant opportunities for improvements and acquisitions. We are currently doing that on a couple different lots that we're looking at. Evaluating our city housing supply, discussing joint housing assessment with Tri-Cities. And then I know our public works staff is currently working on some housing audits and doing some assessment internal of our own data and auditing that and what that looks like there. So we have some work going towards looking and getting an idea what our housing supply now looks like. And then finally, under economic development, there we have retail marijuana review. And we have under there action items of reviewing the status of current licenses and then maybe doing a market assessment and considering or having consideration, do we want to issue any additional licenses? And if so, how many, what type, and that kind of a thing. So it's been about, let's see, when did we start with licensing on marijuana? It was, I was to say, was it 4 or 5 years ago now? 4, something like that. 2017, 20, yeah. So maybe not a bad time to take a look at that. When I have a report back, we can look at, what's the history, how has it looked? What kind of revenues are brought into the city? What do those projections look like? And just have a general discussion and review of that licensing program and see what council thinks about that. Good time to discuss it. Anything else on any of these priority action items or objectives that you guys would like to see? Thoughts on that? Okay. If we move on to the next goal statement, which is develop and support parks and rec and trail and cultural amenities. We have the objective of supporting parks, rec, and open space projects. And a number of action items here. We have participate in the South Suburban Parks and Rec Master Plan update, which is just getting started. Work with South Suburban Parks and Rec to pursue rec center improvements. Improving our tree canopy through a tree planting campaign. And then it shows a check mark, and I'm sorry, that's just a formatting issue that I had there. But it should not be checked. It should be improve and activate the City Hall lawn. Like that. Somewhat related, and I might look at these action items and these objectives again and maybe reorganize these a little bit without losing any, but under rec center improvements, again, review the lease with the school districts and South Suburban Parks and Rec. Promote new programming for families and kids at the rec center. I know I had a discussion with the rec center staff a few months ago, and they were looking at possibly wanting to do some new programming late summer, early fall, and we're wondering if the city would be supportive of assisting with that. And then I told them, we have some ARPA money and some dollars out there that we could put towards that. And I think I've mentioned that to the council. So some opportunities there. And I know they're always, I know with the rec center in the program in there, Eddie's always trying to come up with something new and different to try and engage the community and see what works and what doesn't work. So in seeing what we can do as a city to support that. Again, promoting a skate park expansion and looking at a potential water amenity. And then the last one under that is improving multimodal connectivity between neighborhoods. And first thing I thought of when I thought of that is just, identifying where are our disconnects, where are we missing? And I know that we've got some of that work already done. But looking at where are those missing connections, what is the potential for new connections, and looking at it from that perspective, so we can bring council forward with some decent alternatives or some options for looking at improving that connectivity. And that's been, well, we haven't had a lot of public comment lately, but that has been some of the public comment that we've gotten recently, was that connectivity between neighborhoods.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments about those? So basically kind of parks and recs and trail oriented. And staff, I mean, you guys let me know if I missed something or forget something.
Do we have anything in mind for our next Arapahoe County grant? It seems like we do one about every other year.
Our next, say what it,
Arapahoe County open space.
oh, for a grant?
Yeah.
Well, the last one, I don't know. I'll let,
So we were just awarded the Bear Creek Trail study.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be kicking that off.
so,
So that's like a planning grant.
Okay.
study, But I don't think we have anything lined up. for this year. But if you have any ideas, you could look at that.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I didn't see anything on here, so I wasn't sure if there was something in the works. So.
Yeah, the Bear Creek Trail study will be pretty substantial. It's
Uh-huh.
$100,000 that we're getting. That's the
Okay.
maximum for planning study. Yeah. I think there's a lot of elements that will come out of that.
Okay.
yeah.
So should
And-
that be on here as a action item?
Which one, Mayor? I'm sorry.
The Bear Creek Trail. study?
Yeah, I will add that on there. We just were awarded that last week, notified week before, right? So it's, yeah, we were just recently notified about that, but I will add that into here, absolutely. But that is good news. And then we have, potential with a number of the things that we have going with the which one am I trying to say? The 285 traffic mitigation study. There's some potential for some of those types of projects that come off out of there. We're really pretty good on parks right now, you know, it's gonna probably be more trail related and connectivity related and things along those lines that we'll take a look at. And like Andrew said, there's a number of kind of irons in the fire right now along those, yeah. And taking the steps to make sure we're gonna continue to look at the new quarters, like we haven't looked at Bear Creek in a while. We need to look at that. So that fund or that grant will be very helpful. The CDBG, is that where? Oh, okay. 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 Right. Okay. You know, that's part of the TIP project. And so, yeah, but that it'll be related, but not a, right.
Can you repeat that? Because I couldn't hear.
Oh, so we had some of the a project which was a sidewalk and kind of an infill project that was awarded, but then the pricing came in on it extremely high and over our budget for that. So then we're having to, where are we with that? You have to remind me what we decided.
So that project has been canceled, and then we'll have to go back to reapply.
Resubmit.
For the, it was for like North on Federal, is it? Okay.
Yep. So I'll put some more detail. We'll put that one in there too. Okay. So we're moving into promote and enhance public safety. And then there we have reduce crime and disorder, Sheridan Safe campaign, and continue and enhance our co-responder program. Under enhanced community and police partnerships, improve community relations and engagement, and staffing reflective of our community diversity. Enhanced service through technology training and retention. We got maintain competitive wage and benefit program. And then also crime metrics and stats, I should say statistical reports for city council. Our Denver Fire IGA, our annual review of that. And then an annual dinner with the fire department. I haven't had a chance to talk to them about that, but I think that sounds like fun. Let's see, finally under there in the last goal under the public safety is to provide effective and efficient municipal court services. And then we have implement credit card processing for fees and fines, implement online payment processing, and then a new court system to be compatible with our PD handheld tickets. We've done some of those though, haven't we? Most of those, right? Okay.
They went
So
live
that is,
today, Devin.
I'm sorry.
They went live with their new court system today.
Oh, okay. What was the
Yep.
name of that one again?
Tyler
That's
Technology.
Tyler.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Good, thank you.
Yes.
How is it so far?
I don't know because I haven't been
Yeah.
there, but I'll check in with Kathy when I get back.
Right. Good. Okay.
Can we add something in there about what we've discussed recently about the hydrant inspections and just getting more communication from the fire department?
Mm-hmm. Interview IGA. So I had a couple in there. I'll get some additional reports or communications with council. And then I'll make sure that we have our hydrant inspections get called out. So that we'll make sure that they know that that's a priority for us. Okay, good call. Yeah, go ahead, chief.
Under reduced crime and disorder, I think there's a couple, and I apologize, I should have got these to you earlier, but shoplifting is a major issue that drives our crime numbers up. So I want to work on a shoplifting prevention partnership with retailers. We'll already discuss this with Amy as far as getting some things that we can put in the windows that will let, just remind people that we partner with the retailers, but we can look at some other things that are going on around the nation and how to try and address that and bring that down. So I want to make that a priority. And then enhance our working relationships with neighboring agencies and state organizations with crime crossing over from, city to city. The criminals don't realize the crime line. So I think it's important to enhance that and help us with our working relationships. And another thing that I think is important for us to reduce crime and disorder is one of the things that many of the chiefs of police are talking about, which is working closely with legislators on effective and fair legislation. Because it seems like we have a revolving door that we are arresting people, but people are getting released immediately and going out and committing other crimes. So I think it's important that we have a voice in that we're working with our legislators and at least staying abreast of those things and providing information from our end as well. Good. And I can email those to you if it helps.
It would. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thoughts on public safety?
So is this the point about the housing, support attainable housing opportunities and housing
It's
improvement?
just,
That's supposed to be in the next section?
yes,
Okay.
it
just wanna
was
make
part of
sure.
my formatting difficulties
Okay.
I was having. It's an Excel spreadsheet that I stuck into a Word document, and I'm just gonna have to scrap the whole thing and start.
Why don't we
over
just
again
have
and
a
make it? Huh?
spreadsheet? I like spreadsheets.
Oh, I'm terrible. I'm just, it's just, my skills are not there anymore on that kind of stuff. So yeah, I started deleting rows and columns and things and moving things, shifting things up, and it just got to where it got to be such a mess. I just quit before I started losing everything. So yeah, I will have it cleaned up for you guys next time though, I promise. Yes, so that is the first objective under Sheridan will support and promote our small city sense of community, pride, history, and quality of life. And support attainable housing opportunities and housing improvement programs. There was also a few other things. So I think I lost a few of the action items I had here when I had a formatting issue, but under there, we have conduct a housing needs assessment, possibly in conjunction with Inglewood. I'm learning that I think they recently did one, so we need to look at what we want to do if we want to do that on our own. Participate in the Tri-Cities Homeless Policy Committee, which we obviously continue to do. And then I had in there, so I had an action item in there regards to the supporting the bonsai redevelopment or affordable housing redevelopment. And then the Sheridan Sand District related to Sheridan Sand District #1 improvements to support that housing project. So I'll add those back in there. Anything else housing related that you would like to see us? And we also, I know I had the Brothers redevelopment under this one too, and somehow got erased. So I'll add that one back in.
We talked about both a possible development fee and
Yes.
inclusionary housing ordinance. I don't know if those are
Yeah.
bullet points or if those are kind of more means to some of these other things.
I think we put those, I think we could include them here as well as we included them in the sustainability
Oh, okay.
section. So they're mentioned there, but I can mention them here as well. Because it makes sense in both. Okay. Moving on, oh, I'm sorry, anything else with housing?
Should we include the work with the county now as well? I mean, something that we are taking action on.
Yeah, again, so it's just something so you guys are aware that that's going on. Yeah. So I will call that our what was that position? It was the I'm blanking on the name right now. I'll include it though.
Well, there's different parts of it. So I mean, I'm involved in one group and you're involved in a different group. So
Yeah. Well, you're talking about, so the efforts that the county's doing with their
their homeless action plan,
their action
basically.
plan. Yeah, so that could be one, participate with county action plan.
Were you thinking of something else?
Yeah. I was thinking of Mike Sandgren's position. And that's the
Our homelessness coordinator?
homelessness coordinator position. Wasn't that what it was called?
Yeah, basically. I think
Just
his
so it's
title's
in there
longer
so
than
you
that,
guys
but-
know that that's. I was just trying to think if we called it something different now that it's actually.
I think it's a longer title, but that's the short version maybe.
No. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that one, I lost a number of items there when I tried to format there and it kind of chewed a bunch of stuff up and ate it and I couldn't remember what it was. So next one, promoting community gatherings. We have a few ongoing ones that we do each year with Sheridan Celebration, National Night Out, block parties that we allow. We haven't had a lot, and now putting on our own kind of versions of block parties. Coffee with Council, which is ongoing. I've done movies in the park and I'm looking at our ward and our neighborhood gatherings now. So
Can
those
I
are-
throw something in there, Devin?
yes, please.
And since how we're not having a regular meeting tonight, I told Gene I'd bring this up for.
Sure.
We've been borrowing a PA system.
Oh, yeah.
We've been borrowing one. I think it's time we buy one.
Hmm.
They can't break the bank. I mean,
Mhm.
we do have money, right? Okay. Just a little.
We have just a
All right.
little bit of that fund balance, you know?
Yeah. If we could buy a PA, it'd be handy instead of borrowing. I don't like borrowing.
Where have we been borrowing it from?
Lately it's the library. We've been borrowing it from. Before we borrowed it from South Suburban. But
Yeah.
Now it's the library.
Okay.
So this time we got our own.
Yeah.
And I
We'd
think
use
it
it.
could come in handy in many ways.
Small one.
Mhm.
Okay.
If
She
so,
said-
they have a little handheld one with the mic. It's real
Yeah, it's about,
portable, you know? Do we?
we do? Oh. Well, we got one.
We'll review and look at options.
Okay, we got one.
We do some rather large events. We need some, I was thinking something that had like, the speakers, one speaker, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, yeah. That's what
They
you're
get
thinking
on
about, right?
Scaffolding, you put them up on scaffold. And
We don't want to keep using the chief, so it's his personal.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
No, that's good. That's good.
wanted to
No,
throw that in there because
We'll look into that. Absolutely.
And-
Dallas.
something at Coffee with Council, I think that we need to discuss is
Review that.
it's not attended at all.
Wonder if a different day would be better. I know that I've hardly, rarely, if ever even thought about going there because it's like Saturday mornings and I'm at a kid event with my family and my kids all the time. So I don't know.
Could be that.
I don't know.
Well, kind of, it's hit or miss. I mean, the last 3 times there's just been us as council members.
It's always lower in the summer anyway, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we
but
get back
still.
into the regular year, then it starts getting, sometimes we'll have 10 people there. And maybe it's time to change the venue. I don't know.
Or what I saw another city, I don't remember who it was, that they were doing pizza
Mhm.
with their council. Chocolate, ice cream. I don't know.
Ice cream?
Ice cream?
Happy hour.
Well, that's Friday action item. We'll look at.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
I'm
and I
figuring
think
out.
We'll just, yeah, let's have a discussion on that.
Okay, we can think of some options maybe for you guys and you guys as council, because that's your event. So you guys can maybe, we'll think up maybe some different.
Yeah.
Some options and let you see what you think. Maybe we'll just try a few different things and see what gets a turnout. Okay, good. All right.
Can I add one more thing? Can we
Yeah.
change that to promote and coordinate community gatherings? I think we've had some issues this year, especially with having so many new events around kind of coordinating everything that's going on.
Did you say promote and coordinate?
Yeah.
Okay, you bet. Yep. And I'll be bringing, so my intention is to bring this back to roughly quarterly and go through there. And if we want to change wording on anything, you can do it anytime, right? This is not written in stone.
Right.
So whatever makes sense for you guys and you think communicates that what you want to do best. Okay. Promote and coordinate community gatherings. Very good. Okay. Let's see, I lost my spot. There we are. Develop public communication and outreach strategy, continue to develop relations with organizations for community news and promotion, transition to digital newsletter. We already did that. Draft and adopt a community engagement strategy. We talked about doing that. Identify tools. I don't know why this is underlined and I have no idea. Underlined. It was, you know,
So important.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there it is. Identify tools and platforms to support engagement strategy. Create a city slogan. We don't have a city slogan that I'm aware of. And then look at updating our city logo. Future. Couple more under this goal. I'm going to kind of move along because we got to get done. Promote community and neighborhood pride. Look at a neighborhood beautification grant program. I know that Amy's looked into different other examples that other cities have done out there. Promote neighborhood volunteer services. This would be like the snow clearing, snow shoveling, that kind of a thing like that. And then look at doing an annual code enforcement campaign. And then wellness, I think I lost a couple here because I know I had a couple more under this wellness one. So I apologize. You can kind of see where they started to disappear. But so our wellness program, I have our employee wellness committee who develop an annual wellness program, which our wellness committee meets every year. And then we plug that stuff into the budget. And I had a couple others under there, but they have disappeared on me. So I apologize. And I'll find out what those were and put those back in there.
Devin?
Yeah.
Under this goal,
Mhm.
I briefly talked to you about it, but
Mhm.
this past weekend down at Chase Park, there was a gentleman that parked there with a big it wasn't a big motorhome, it was a motorhome. He had a trailer full of junk. He had another truck full of junk. There's a woman with a van in it with him. And they set up shop in front of Chase Park to scrap steel. He was spread out entirely the length of Chase Park with all his operations. And he had scrap steel on the sidewalk, in the streets, barrels in the street where he was doing his operation. I noticed it Friday afternoon when I came home from work and called Randy. Apparently, he was cited earlier that day by Arnold, given a 72-hour notice to move. 72 hours. Well, he continued his operation. Saturday, he was still there. I was angry. I could not send if my grandkids were there, I would not have sent them to the park to play. No way. No with that going on there. I called Chief and discussed it with him, and he had a sergeant go over and look and reported back to me that he's been cited, but we do not have enough teeth in our laws to do anything about it. I know I've talked with Bill Hayashi in the past, and I believe he did an ordinance for Golden about a situation like that where people are camping on the street. I'm not so upset if he'd go to an industrial, go down on Radcliffe and do it, but not in a community. Now, keep this in mind. He's moved. He had his 72 hours and he moved. He's in front of the church now, over here in front of the church. He moved. I know. And this is quality of life that's being taken. I feel for whatever he's working hard out there, which I don't, anyway, I won't go on that subject, but it's a quality of life that's being taken and we got to get some teeth. He's tied to a couple of houses down there on either the old farmhouse on Dale Court or the one next to it to the north. All of those houses do not have current plates on their vehicles. None of them do. The farmhouse, here's the next thing of this quality of life. Years ago, I had an idea. What if you wanted to landscape your yard with broken glass? You had access to all the beer bottles you wanted, and you just busted them up out there in the yard and had nice broken glass. Boy, wouldn't that look good? Sun glistening on all that glass. It's happened in Sheridan. On Clay Street, DGI does that over there. They bust their glass up and they spread it out. On Dale Court, at the farmhouse, the guy that owns that has taken ceiling tiles, spread them out over the front yard, and he's bringing crushed concrete in to put on top of that. We got to do something. I mean, we make the laws. We make the rules. We do. We say, we want this. You guys go do it. We can do it. I don't know, maybe that's acceptable to people, but to me, it is not acceptable to just dump stuff in your yard. Another gentleman down the street, he has put in AstroTurf in his front yard, so thus he can park in it, I guess. The man across the street tried to tear up his grass in his front yard to park his cars there. We said no, because you can't do that. It's not fair across the board. And we need to look at these things. We need to study our laws and stop it. I don't know. If I'm all wet, let me know. And tell me, no, Dallas, this is wrong. But we got to
Maybe
do
we
something.
could look at it as like a whole thought process of like, what kinds of materials should people be using in their yards? You know, maybe look at sustainability as well. You know, what's,
I
we
agree.
wanna
I don't
have
mind
here,
somebody
you know?
putting rock in their yard
Yeah.
with water prices the way they are and the way things are going, you know.
but
Make
like
less-
what's is what's permeable or not permeable that, you know, that should be in a yard? What's going to hurt the environment? Like, you know, ceiling tiles, is that okay for the environment
don't
to have
know.
that in your
I-
yard? You know,
I can see that would be a weed block, but
you know,
I mean, it looks terrible.
right.
I mean, it looks like a dump.
Yeah.
And he's also parked a broken down old van in front and then he backed it in because it doesn't have any plates on it. Anyway, I digress, but I'd like to have that put in somewhere in here that we need to study this. I don't know. Like I say, Mr. Hayashi I believe, has written a ordinance.
Councilman and Mayor, I did receive a text from Mr. Hayashi, and he wants to talk about this tomorrow with me and probably Randy. So
Thank you.
we'll
Thanks, Bill.
see what we can possibly bring to city council to maybe look at or adopt. So
I think what I would like to do is we can talk about it at staff level and then set up some additional time to discuss this at a work session.
Okay.
And get some additional direction from
So can we
council.
put
'cause
an
this is-
an action item for
Yeah.
council for possible legislation around community beautification, or
Just quality of life,
Yeah.
I think, you know.
I'm just trying to think what the action item is and, if,
Yeah.
you know, where to put it here. Because I mean, if you're talking about legislation that we're going to pass, that ought to be on here. as
Would
an
that
action
not
item.
fall under sustainability?
It could be. That's
Good.
what I'm saying.
I
Maybe it
mean,
could
yeah.
fit
we're talking-
beautification or sustainability or both.
Sustainability, it
you
could
know.
do that too.
Mhm.
It's, You know,
'Cause
do
we
we want to?
Look at it from both
Do we
angles.
want to end up like down on Jason Street down there in Denver, where there's an entire, probably 3 or 4 blocks of campers. In fact, they had a huge fire here not too long ago because one of the tanks blew up. So I mean, we've got to kind of take care of it now before it gets out of hand.
Well, we've-
And you're getting into the other people's lives and how they take care of their homes.
We invested $500,000 into a park.
Yeah.
Really wasn't worth, you can't use it.
Yeah, and so this it might not just be one thing, it might be,
Yeah.
it might be several things that we write and so I'm just writing furiously over here, a bunch of different things, and we'll come back, Mayor, on this with like, I would say probably 2 or 3 different, priority action items that would be related to this. You have nuisance ordinances and you want to look at so maybe it's a nuisance or review of our nuisance ordinance and see if it includes the things that we want it to, or is it missing teeth in some certain places, right?
And like
So
blocking, blocking sidewalks. If you mentioned like they're laying
Yeah.
stuff on the sidewalk, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Can't be blocking the sidewalk.
So it might be something that, a number of different action items we look here and probably a start of reviewing our own, taking an in-depth look of our own code and educating council on this, because you don't want to sit there and start suggesting things and it's like, well, we already do that. So it's more of a process of an educating council, looking at where we have, what our current ordinances are, where the shortfalls might be, what's even feasible, what can or can we not do? Because there's some things we can't do, right? And there's with regards to property rights and things. along those lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm.
With property rights, people have the right to do stuff, but
Yep.
I think we can look at some things and put some teeth into what we've got, and Chief can work on that. But where he was at, the curve there, my mind just went blank. The guy
With
that
the
lives
Chase
down there, the guy that lives down there in the corner, he parks his work truck there in that curve. Then that guy was there. Wow, it's tight getting through there with that.
It is tight. It is. And since we're talking about Chase Park, is there a way that we can put a net, where the hill is right there
It's a
on the
good idea.
basketball court, and you got that hill? Can we put a net there? I was playing basketball one day and the ball went over that little short fence and went down the hill. Oh, that sucked.
Did you get it back or was it?
I
just
did.
gone?
I got it back. I
It
went
wasn't
down the
good,
hill.
is it?
But I can't imagine like, kids or something going down that hill. But I mean, all we need is a higher net right there to block that little area.
That's part of the no man's land that
Yeah.
we talked about the other day.
Yeah, that's a tough area.
Yeah, that sucked.
It's a hard, it was a lot of shoehorning of things, or for lack of, and just trying to design things to work with the
Yeah.
slopes that you suddenly have there. And
I mean, there's a little fence,
yeah.
but the ball went just right
Mhm,
over it.
sure.
I was like, oh man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was walking by there the other day and a creature went in. It was, I don't know what it was. It went into the bushes.
Oh, yeah. It's the wild kingdom back in there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Okay. I'm gonna zip through a couple of these really quick because they're fairly standard. We have our fiscally conservative annual city budget. And these are the action items we always do with the city budget, and walks through what are the main steps on the way to adoption. We each year do a comprehensive annual financial report and audit. And then for next year, I want to do, and we have this objective on there with the conduct and implement the city employee classification compensation study. We do this every 2 or 3 years to make sure that our pay rates, our pay scales, our job classifications and everything else are up to date and are competitive and are where they need to be for the city as an organization and where we are in the metro area. So I'm doing another classification. We'll call it a class and comp study. We are due for that, to do that one up. Our last one, couple of things here. We've talked about, well, our records management program. I'll probably maybe pop this whole thing out of here, but we still have a little bit of implementation to do on that records management program. Our stormwater program, we talked about already. And then we get into the 3 sustainability items here, and I want to touch on those really quickly. So under environmental, we have, and you'll see that we have sustainability plan on each one of these, and I thought I had a bullet in here, and I will add it, is looking at a part-time sustainability coordinator position, which is we've discussed. My mouth is starting to stop, which we have discussed with council and also with the city of Inglewood, and hiring their sustainability coordinator on a part-time position, because she's currently on a part-time plan with them. So I will add that in there. But back up to environmental sustainability. We've got, we already are an Excel Energy higher emissions community, and that designation opens up some opportunities for us to go look at different programs, grant opportunities as such. If we move down through there, we've got air quality monitoring program, which we're continuing to do and looking at expanding. City purchasing an EV fleet, or purchasing EVs, electric vehicles, and looking at fleet transition. How do we start to convert, and where does it make sense to convert over to EVs for our fleet? Tree canopy, we mentioned smoke readiness plan, which is what Ari talked about at our last session. Extreme temperature action plan. Again, this is out there. What do we do to assist people when we run into extreme temperature situations? We have some of that with the cold weather side. We don't have much on the hot weather side. So what do we do when we have, as we've seen this summer already, some extremely warm temperatures, and how can we help out with that? And then also reviewing, we talked about this with council, reviewing our Western Meadows pilot. And again, that pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes agreement. We move into promote social sustainability. We're currently doing our online meeting translation, and we continue to do that and see how do we improve that. Rec center planning, we talked a little bit of, I'll match up the language on the bullet above so that they match up on that, but looking at programming for kids and families and people in our community. Expanding support to food access. We have a number of very good food banks and food access programs here in Sheridan. How can we support them or continue to support them, make them more successful? Research and consideration of inclusionary zoning ordinance. There's that, Mayor, and we'll include that one above as well. In economic sustainability, explore projects with Tri-Cities. So I know that I think there's been some discussions, what's the next Tri-Cities efforts going to be, and possibly have some of those be around sustainability. A rolling business facade improvement grant, low interest loan. Look at that as a potential program that the city might offer. Energy efficiency audits for businesses and residents. We've done a little bit of work on energy efficiency audits. We've done one here for our buildings, and I think we've promoted it a little bit out there, but we can do some more and look at that. Explore feasibility of development impact fees. Again, that kind of goes along with the inclusionary ordinance. What can we do on our processes and our fees to help promote sustainability? And then maintaining our healthy budget reserves. So that's a lot. Any thoughts on sustainability side of things? Any of the priority action items we have there? What with what I would like to do, and what we've talked to council about doing, is getting some part-time help from a sustainability coordinator to help us kind of put our arms around all of this and come forward with a coherent plan. So having that sustainability plan, and I know in discussing the efforts that Inglewood started with and talking with their staff, the presentation they did at one of our conferences, step one is figuring out, what are you already doing? Because there's a lot of things we already are doing. Let's make sure we have a firm understanding of that. What are we doing? And then where are the gaps? What are we missing? Or where are the nice places to fill in? And we can provide those services there. And what does that look like? And then putting a plan to make that happen. So that's kind of how I envision us moving forward with that fairly soon. I do have a scope of work for the part-time position. Just need to finalize reviewing that with our staff and with the Inglewood staff, and then we should be able to anticipate engaging the person through a contract. So there won't be an FTE with the city, but it'll be a contract position with the city. And getting some assistance in moving us forward with that. So there's all your goals and objectives and priority action items for the year and moving into next year. So again, not written in stone. We add and subtract as we move along, as things change. We will look at, though, using this as guidance for starting to put dollars in the budget. So we might see some things in the budget, make sure, hey, we're including this to address this goal. We're including that within various aspects of the budget to address some of the goals here, and continue to do that as we move through the year into next year. So we've run right up against our time, Mayor. Anything else you guys have or want to talk about on goals right now?
When we were talking
Yeah.
about doing the upgrades on City Hall, and we're talking about the pricing with Excel and things of that nature, can we still let us know about that solar technology also,
Well, sure.
whenever we get to it?
Yeah, you bet. I think we'll be looking at that throughout sustainability efforts, and where a lot of cities have started is like, you look internally, look at yourself. So how can you improve yourself and get yourself in a place where you're being, because how can you go out and preach to people to be sustainable if you're not doing it yourself, right? So it's kind of taking care of yourself at home, make sure our buildings are doing what our buildings need to do, that our processes, our staff, our people are doing what they need to be doing, and getting a good feel for that. Solar will be a part of that. What do we, is that a consideration? Does it make sense for us or not? But part of also that, those plan moving forward saying, okay, you're doing this or you're not doing this. Does it make sense or do you not want to do it?
Right.
Right.
I think, on the same note, I think I mentioned during planning before about, grasses and xeriscape, like are there areas we could do that don't need to be beautiful, lush lawn. They just need to look nice or something,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So something that doesn't take as much water, so we're not
Yep.
using all those resources in places we don't need to. So then I think you said you were going to bring that up with South Suburban, maybe next time you meet with them, if I remember right.
Yes. So for the parks
Yeah.
and things like, right.
Right.
Mhm.
So I mean, we could look at our own, but then they have, obviously they take care of a lot of that for us.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else, staff? Is that enough to do?
Just have one question. This is Sally,
Hey, Sally.
also known as Devin Granberry, apparently.
Huh.
That's what it shows up on.
No, I haven't joined.
I'm sorry, Sally. I thought that was Devin. I kept putting the hand down.
I
I
know.
was like, he's talking.
You thought I was
already.
over here just
I
hitting
did.
buttons,
I was
just
like, what are you? I'm
making a
sorry.
mess of things.
Okay.
Huh. It
Sally's
could make
here.
sense. I understand why she would think that.
And
Go
then
ahead, Sally.
I'm like, well, wait a minute. She lower. Okay, they lower my hand. Okay, let me raise it. Nope, they lower- I was like, wow, okay, maybe they don't know it's me because it says Devin Granberry.
Yes.
But anywho, can we get like a copy of that? Of all of the, the additions and changes and whatever's when you're get it all said and done?
Yes. Yeah.
'Cause-
Well, I'll make all the changes to this. I need to
mine
do
is
some
a
work on
scribbled
formatting
mess
and give
now.
it to you.
Yeah, mine is a total scribbled mess now.
Yes.
Those of us here had an updated version, so it's almost there. It's just got some weird formatting. And stuff.
Yeah, I got to fix a little bit of the
okay.
formatting and we'll work on matching up some of the language and then doing some of our additions here. And then I'll email it out to everybody.
Okay,
Does that
Okay.
work?
that works for me.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank-
do we want to take a couple minutes to talk about the resolutions for tonight, or do we want to?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and I would just open up the meeting for the SRA meeting and then we can discuss it and then you can, yeah, we only have that one item to address.
All right, so we'll adjourn our work session at 7:10 PM. Is everybody okay with going right into SRA?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we will, I'll call to order the Sheridan Redevelopment Agency special meeting for August 8th, 2022, and the time's 7:10 PM. And we have all board members present except for Board Member Whitaker. And we have two resolutions tonight, Resolution number 3 of 2022 and Resolution 4 of 2022. we want to go ahead and get a motion and then have discussion.
I think we can do a brief outline for council before you get there.
That sounds
So
good.
I'm going to turn it over to Teresa and she can run you through this really quickly and see if you have any questions and then we can do that there.
Okay.
So what we have tonight are the resolutions to renew the letters of credit. We do this every year. I'm going to give you just a smidge of background just for new people, kind of as a refresher, because I know you just all are really up and wonderful bonds. So the letters of credit, when we renewed in 2011, the letters of credit, there's a letter of credit on the A1 and there's a letter of credit on the A2 bonds. What this is the agreement is actually between JP Morgan Chase and the developer. And what these do is these guarantee the bond payments. So the SRA has a very vested interest in making sure this agreement happens, but we're not really part of the agreement. So what is required of the SRA is, so when it was done in 2011, when they renewed, it actually went for 3 years. We didn't have to worry about it until 2014. So what is required of the SRA, because we need it renewed, is we are required 90 days before it expires. It has to be 90 days. Sorry, it has to be 90 days before that we notify all parties. So the trustee, JP Morgan, the developer, that we say, hey, the letter of credit expires on this dates. Get to going, you guys get this done. So, and the reason we need that done is because in the JP Morgan has to notify the trustee. It's a simple little letter with like 3 sentences saying we've extended the agreement. Here's the new maturity date. If there's a rate change, they'll put it in there and that's it. And they send it it has to go to the trustee. It has to be the trustee 15 days before it expires because the trustee is required to get that. If they do not get that 15 days prior, they have to call the bonds, which we really, really, really don't want. So this has never been a problem because JP Morgan has always just sent that letter, usually sometime in June or July. Once we get that notice as the SRA, we bring it to the board and say, hey, here's our First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment. So that's how it's always happened. So was going down that path to have you guys approve it on the 22nd. JP Morgan has changed how they do it, and they will not send that letter to the trustee. And I can tell you, we've had lots and lots of emails, lots of phone calls, lots of conference calls, the trustee telling them, you don't need the board to approve it. All you need to do is just send that letter. And JP Morgan has made the stance that we will not send that letter until the board approves it. I found this out on Thursday and the 15 days is tomorrow. So we did some Hail Marys, got things up. So that's what happened is I don't know why JP Morgan changed their stance on that. It seems a little backwards how we're to approve something that technically hasn't happened, but that's what they have said is they will not send that letter to US Bank, the trustee, until they have the board approval. So that's why it was a little miscombobulated this year. Nothing is different. Everything's the same. They've said they're going to renew it. What they're renewing it is what they did this year. They can renew it however long they want, but what they've did it is for 1 year, but then with the option to extend it another year after that. So they kept the rate the same. Everything is the same. It's just, I'm not sure why they did it, but they were very set in their ways, I will just say, no matter what. And so Kimco's attorney was super awesome to work with and helping. She's actually in Colorado. She's normally in Texas. So yeah, so I apologize for kind of the last minute, but we kind of got it thrown on us a little bit that, and we had lots of emails and lots of calls. So I don't know why this happened, but we are making it happen so that tomorrow it will get renewed. And so everything will be as planned, but nothing's different than what we have always done. So again, I apologize for the late notice. So do you have any questions on my long rambling? Poor Devin got my venting, which was a little more colorful. So yes, I said I would not be colorful tonight. So, did you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay.
Very straightforward.
I will stop boring you then. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution. Can we include both together? Got to
I'm sorry,
separate it?
Dahlia, we need to do them separate, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 3 of 2022.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Board Member Hall and seconded by Board Member Kelly. Any discussion on resolution number 3?
No.
I have you.
I don't
Okay.
know,
Can we
Jenna, did you want to
I'm
do a
good.
roll call or a?
Yeah, I'm good to go ahead with a roll call. So member
Okay.
Hall,
Yes.
Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Chairman Biderfleur,
Yes.
member Smith,
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Unanimous, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Next, we have resolution number 4 of 2022.
I'll make a motion to
Approve.
approve, sorry, resolution for 2022.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Brain fart.
Motion made by Board Member Stang, seconded by Board Member Kelly. Any discussion on resolution number 4? Can we get a vote, please?
Member Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Chairman Biderfleur,
Yes.
member Smith,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Unanimous, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. That's all our business. Besides, I want to say, get well soon to Jenna.
Yes.
Thank you.
And whoever, the jackets are nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Looks good.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for putting that together.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks for running the show tonight, too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll adjourn and it's 7:17 PM. Thank you, everybody.